Welcome back to the Bill of Rights show on NDTV Hindu with me, Cuckoo Alex. This is where we tell you about your rights as a consumer and how you can exercise them. What matters today is to sell your product. So companies come up with all sorts of marketing strategies, with some even clearly concealed to look like facts. We uncover some of the unethical techniques used by the ever-growing pharmaceutical sector to promote their products. Some of these strategies are likely to have been around for a while.
Gastroesophageal reflux. This sounds like a serious disease, but it's actually the common heartburn. A pharmaceutical company created this term in the 1980s to push up sales of a medicine it manufactured. But such marketing practices are considered unethical.
Doctors do. In our small study of 100 doctors, we did find that a large number of them preferred journals as the source of information about new drugs, but they used the pharma companies more than they did the journals, and that they are very deeply influenced by the pharma companies' incentives and by the talk of the pharma representatives who come to them.
Also, higher pricing of medicines to give the impression of better quality is said to be a marketing strategy. A pharma company in Baroda, which supplies medicines to state-run hospital at low rates, says price has nothing to do with quality. The man who runs this company also says in India there is no proper legislation to govern promotional methods.
So I think in our country awareness alone is not enough. Unless you have a law and also you have some exemplary punishments for taking kickbacks from drug companies, then only will this will stop. Otherwise it will not stop. Because drug companies will always claim that it is legitimate, what they are doing is the right to trade, and they'll say under Article 15 of the Constitution. But you don't consider the right of the patient.
Unethical ways to promote sales in medicines remains unnoticed, and this is mostly linked to lack of awareness. But activists hope their efforts will lead to laws that will curb practices aimed only at profit making. In Chennai, Batila, NDTV Hindu.
Consumer rights activist who joined us on this case had this to say.
First off, this is really unethical by all means. I mean, it's almost like inventing a new disease just to get maybe a product selling. Who is really to blame here? Is it the doctor? Is it because there's not much of a demand, perhaps?
No, actually it's a fairly complex issue in that there's a lot of unhealthy competition as well. They say that there is anything between 80,000 to 92,000 brands of drugs on the market.
Right.
If you take a simple compound like paracetamol, for instance, there is something like 1,500 brands. So this leads to, I think, a lot of pushing and selling by pharma, obviously, because if there are so many brands. So one question that would arise is, why are so many brands sanctioned for drugs? And and for the doctors, how is a doctor to choose between 1,500 brands, however well read he is? So,
ma'am, this kind of commercialization, especially in the pharma industry, doesn't really take place in the open. It is mostly kept under wraps. So what kind of statistics can you give us with regard to this, and can you just throw some more light on this basically?
See, the thing is that it is under wraps because not many people are aware of the fact that a drug company sells, the same company sells the same product at different price ranges under different brand names.
All right.
So often they sell their product in different ways to different segments. For instance, to the doctors they sell it through the medical sales representatives. To pharmas it goes directly saying that if you sell so many boxes you get so many, and to doctors who dispense medicines it goes in a different way. So the incentives offered are different. And even often the doctors are unaware that that the same company is selling the same drug at different prices, and so also the consumer.
So clearly lots of stakeholders involved in this
Lot
process,
of stakeholders involved in this.
But there are also even reports that sometimes in some cases doctors also get bribed with expensive gifts for maybe taking up an order like that. Is that also the case? Have you heard of
doctors
any?
would not agree to the term bribe, but the word they all use is incentives. The incentives are very, very far ranging. I mean, they range from 500 rupees to 5 lakh. That's what we have got directly from medical sales representatives themselves. That the percentage they spend on the doctor is directly related to the sales that the doctor gives them. So doctors in the segments like cardiologists and neurologists, for whom the patients are on often lifelong medication, they tend to be the most highly incentivized people. They get a lot of incentives ranging from trips abroad to holidays abroad, and the most popular one is the sponsorship to conferences. They may get devices, they may get books and so on.
But ma'am, we also have to consider that this is an age of alternative medicine. It's not just allopathy which is ruling the market now. There is physiotherapy, there is even Ayurveda, and there are different forms of it. So in the wake of such competitive other treatments coming up, do tactics like this, have they become more devious over time in order to score over the population, or is it just something which has been there from time immemorial?
Yeah, see, the thing is that, no, it's not that it's become more devious, but as the law gets more stringent, for instance, the Medical Council of India has now specified that doctors should not take incentives. They're finding other ways to do it. They're putting doctors as, when you invite them to a conference, they're saying that this is a resource person for the conference.
Okay.
So they're finding other ways, so.
Okay.
But in the bigger picture, how does this really affect a consumer like you and I?
I think that's the very, very most important question, because for the consumer, if, the pharma company is spending enormous amounts of money on promotionals.
Yes.
So where does that money come from, and who's going to pay for it? Ultimately, it comes down to the consumer.
Right.
And that's not the only ill. The other ill is that a doctor, when a doctor often tends to prescribe what the pharma company is pushing. And sometimes that leads to a lot of irrational prescribing for the consumer and unnecessary prescribing as well.
What does that mean when you say
It means that, like for instance, if you look at the top selling 300 brands of drugs, there are drugs there which about more than 120 of them are irrational. What I mean by irrational is that the combinations of medicines there are not really specified in the pharmacological textbooks.
Right.
And they raise the cost to consumers enormously.
All right. Sometimes we have come across cases wherein a very simple sort of an ailment is being overprescribed. Yes. I mean, how often does this happen, and what are the most common ailments? If you could just tell our viewers, what are the most common ailments which get overprescribed and unnecessarily you're charged and allowed and asked to take drugs for that?
Yeah, so for instance, a simple common cold. See, the saying goes that if you treat a cold, it goes away in 7 days, and if you don't treat it, it goes away in a week. So unless there's really an indication for an antibiotic or an indication for a, cough syrups, again, very, very specific, very, very few and specific indications for them. But if you look at the number of cough syrups in the market, they're enormous and among the top selling medicines. So again, the cost to the consumer is enormous, and we find people also getting very influenced by advertising. And they often choose medicines based on advertisements,
Really?
even prescription
Does
medicines.
that really drive the consumer? Advertisements in
Yes,
this case for
consumers are.
medicines
In our study of
This
100
particular,
consumers.
branch is, I mean, it's your health that you're talking about. So, how much of a role do advertisements play in actually driving the consumer for the same?
Yes, consumers, in our study of 100 consumers that we found, we did find them very influenced by the, more than 60% of them were influenced by the advertisements that they saw.
Right. So clearly there's not a proper mechanism to make sure that whatever is happening happens according to an ethical way. Is that something that is missing? Is that something that you want to really come and take its place then?
Yes, I think that's really the heart of the issue, because the regulation is entirely dependent on voluntary codes, both by the pharmaceutical companies and the advertising sector. And so far, when we asked for whether any complaint has been received by the OPPI, for instance, for any kind of violation, there were none. So
what can be the answer then? Can there be raids to really check this? Should the government really come in then? What's the need of the hour?
Definitely, I think they
examine that. Are there even laws to actually make sure that these practices don't actually take place?
There is really no regulation. We did a study of the regulatory framework, and we did find that there was a paucity of regulation in this area. I think the approach has to be multi-pronged. Doctors have to get more ethical and follow their standard treatment guidelines. I think there has to be a regulatory framework in place by the government wherein such promotional practices, if you ask me, should be completely banned. Yes, pharma companies should be should be talking about their products to doctors, but there should be no strings attached to this.
Absolutely, yes.
And their information should be on public domain for all people to access.
But ma'am, try not to make this discussion more one-sided. I mean, I'm sure you must have met a lot of other doctors in this particular endeavor. So what do they have to say about this, across a wide cross-section of them?
See, even in our study, a simple study of about, say, a small sample of 100 doctors, people said that they would like to read more journals. They would like to get their source of information from journals. But again, they used pharma representatives rather than the journals. And regarding incentives, about 20 of them were very clear that no incentives should be given. But this seems to be a very grey zone again amongst doctors. So I think that since the practice has been prevalent for so many years, it's not going to be so easy to move out of it.
That's right.
We head into a break on Bill of Rights, but on the other side, we tell you how a service provider found itself in trouble over a teleconference session. Please stay with us.